How do you feel?
Dude, I can't believe I actually feel like perfectly fine. And that was the moment I was going to learn the answer to the age-old question. Can you stay strong and lose fat? So we're going to cover, can you lose fat and stay strong? And first, we're going to go into Dane's 60-second lesson on physiology. To lose fat, to lose weight, we have to be in a caloric deficit. How many calories are we eating in a day? Okay, and then establishing, okay, this is our total daily energy expenditure in comparison to our caloric intake. We better be in a caloric deficit. That's how we need to lose fat. Now, if we do that slowly over a long period of time, we can maintain muscle mass to a point for losing fat. How can we maintain that strength? We know that being strong is applying force on an opposing object. So a human being, a dumbbell, a barbell, anything along those lines. So let's say that at the start of us losing weight, we bench press 405 pounds. If 8, 10, 12 weeks later, we can still bench press 405 pounds, but we've lost 20 pounds of body mass, we're still maintaining that strength. So the key factor here is that our body uses a lot of caloric energy just to maintain and exist. So we have to find a very precise balance based off of caloric intake and how we're actually training to make sure that we can maintain that muscle mass and stay strong. So who can we look at to maintain muscle mass while we're losing weight? What are examples, or who are examples that we can pull from? Okay, so first, morbidly obese individuals. So morbidly obese people, when they start to exercise or start to just focus on their nutrition, maybe a little bit of both, they will see a drastic increase in muscle mass and a very rapid plummeting of their body fat. So they're gonna lose quite a bit of weight and they can gain muscle mass. The second level will be newbies. Okay, so someone that is brand new to strength training or resistance-based training. These individuals might change their dietary habits very slightly, but because they're just starting to train and increase their coordination, they can drastically improve muscle mass, or they can maintain their muscle mass while losing a fair amount of weight. Boys, girls come in, they start training, and all of a sudden, within a month, their bodies are completely different. Now, they're also going through puberty, but that also is consistent when you look at the population of 25 to 30-year-olds who are starting to get into resistance-based training. Third, this would be if someone has a catastrophic injury, they're an elite athlete, they have a catastrophic injury, they blow out their ACL. They're gonna be laid up for quite a long period of time. Or they've taken a long break from their sport because they're burned out for whatever reason, and they come back into resistance-based training. Because of their muscle memory, which is real, when they come back in, they make very rapid muscular gains while losing a little bit of fat. That's pretty consistent across all different athletes that we've worked with, and it's pretty consistent in the literature as well. And then finally, people who are taking anabolic steroids. So if we're on high doses of test, or if we're taking Anavar, Primo, Masteron, whatever it is, D-Ball, Deca, Winstrol, we will see in this population of individuals a massive improvement in lean muscle mass and a massive drop in overall fat mass. So those are those 4 key areas. So what about those husky people and newbies? Morbidly obese individuals have typically been very inactive, and they also have an excess amount of calories stored on their body, and so their body can actually use those calories. So you're saying that they probably haven't lived an active life and didn't really eat that well? Correct. When they start to resistance-based train, they ignite their otherwise totally dormant metabolism, so now they start to burn a lot of those excess calories. Do you think obese people have ever eaten liver? Unlikely. They're very similar to those newbie-based athletes. They've probably done minimal resistance-based training, and they start to use a comfortably caloric deficit. So maybe they're only at a 200 caloric deficit, and now all of a sudden they start to burn even more excess calories because of what they're doing with their resistance-based training. So I doubt it. Would they benefit from liver? Yes, of course they would benefit from liver consumption. There's a large amount of vitamin A, a lot of the B vitamins, vitamin K, CoQ10, even a little bit of protein. Couple that with the improved coordination from resistance-based training, and it's a recipe for success. So they should definitely try today's video sponsor, Purely Liver, from North American Herb and Spice. Purely Liver is 100% grass-fed and finished New Zealand beef liver, and it's totally free of any chemicals or additives. So click our link down below in the description and use the code GARAGESTRENGTH at North American Herb and Spice for 15% off your order today. Yes, now leave me alone so I can get back to talking about those athletes that have been laid up or injured so we can actually figure out the rest of this video. So when athletes get hurt, a lot of things change. They change how they're training, they change their energy expenditure, they even change how they're eating. They get into these a little bit of slumps, right? And a lot of that leads to how they feel overall. So over a long period of time, they just feel crappy. But when they come back into training, everything changes. So muscle memory is indeed real. What ends up happening is that elite athlete has made all these neurological innervations. So when they were in training, they had these innervations based off of whatever sport they were working towards. Those don't just go away. And so when they come back into training, my triceps are destroyed right now. When they come back into training, their body remembers those innervations. And within 4 to 6 weeks, they start to add quite a bit of muscle mass because of that muscle memory. And this can even be done while they're in the caloric deficit. Holy. But what about those sauce heads? So when bodybuilders take anabolic steroids, or athletes in general, what ends up happening is they might go into a severe caloric deficit. But the hormones that they're using, or the agents that they're using, are gonna help them partition nutrients much more effectively so that they are more anabolic. So they have a greater level of muscle protein synthesis. The other area in which this helps improve their overall physique and their overall ability to lose fat mass and increase muscle mass is that it helps them improve their mental aspect. They know they're on gear. And when you're on gear, you're a robot. You can wake up first thing in the morning and just go smash weights on a pretty severe caloric deficit while feeling like crap, but knowing deep down inside, you've got a lot of those anabolics aiding in your overall gains. That is also why people who are on a ton of drugs, something like Anavar even does this, is that they look like they've aged 20 years. They might not be sleeping that well, and they might not be using that energy for their overall longevity, but they are using it to gain muscle mass. So when I cut nearly 20 pounds and I was able to maintain a fair amount of my strength, and I've still maintained that weight loss, I've been staying down around 223 now. One of the biggest things I realized is that I can't train the exact same way that I trained when I was 250 plus. Because a lot of the caloric excess that I was bringing in, I could just go in and smash weights all the time. But now I have to be more precise with how I time my nutrition. I have to be much more precise with how much fiber and how much protein I'm eating in a regular day. And on top of that, I have to be way more focused on my sleep patterns. If I'm more focused on my sleep patterns, that helps me feel way better the next day, and I can feel that when I'm getting into training. That's the biggest thing that I've learned, is that when you're eating excess calories, you sort of forget about all these other side things, but as you cut those calories, you have to be more focused. And it also is gonna take a longer time frame. So what's that mean for practicality? I think right off the bat, if you're cutting, you should be having 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, up to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. If I weigh, let's just say, real simple math, 100 kilos, I should be having at least 220 grams of protein. That's gonna help me feel better and recover really, really well. The next big step for me was figuring out, is cutting fat or carbs? Which one am I gonna be cutting to decrease my caloric intake? And I can tell you anecdotally, and from what I've seen here with all of our athletes, almost everyone feels better when they cut fat versus when they cut carbs. Personally, when I cut my carbs, I feel as flaccid as a 60-year-old man. But when I cut my fat and maintain my carb timing, I still feel muscular. I still can get a pretty good pump, and I still feel more full-blooded because of the water that my muscles are maintaining while I'm slowly losing weight over that long period of time. Again, low carb works, but it really works well in a very short time frame. So if you have to cut to make a weight class and you only have 5 days to get there, by all means, you can go low carb because you're gonna lose a lot of water weight. But if you're trying to do this over a very long period of time and sustain that, I would recommend, anecdotally, again, this is anecdotally, to cut fat versus cutting carbs. So we know that we need to be in a caloric deficit. We know that we should have about 1.8 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein. We know that muscle memory does help. We know that increasing our total daily energy expenditure can happen very easily by going in the sauna, doing long, steady state cardio. The next big factor is gonna be your sleep. I would recommend trying your best to add 1 hour of sleep when you're in a substantial caloric deficit. 1, this is gonna help you have less opportunity to eat food. 2, your body is gonna notice that it feels way better with extra sleep in a caloric deficit. This is something that a lot of people don't touch on, is that if you have sleep deprivation while you're trying to lose weight, you will feel like absolute trash and it's not gonna be sustainable. It goes back to being patient. If we use someone like an elite world-class weightlifter, Haley Reichert, she has to weigh in at 49 kilos. Her first weightlifting competition that she ever was in, she was 49 kilos when she was 13 years old, 10 years ago. She just recently medaled at the Senior World Championships, weighing in at 49 kilos. And she's added over 100 kilos to her total during this time frame. But what she does is she maintains a body weight around 51 kilos, and then over 10 to 16 weeks, she slowly cuts down her body mass and her caloric intake. It takes time, and she can still hit monster PRs out on the platform, clean and jerking 110 kilos, 242 pounds, while only weighing about 108 pounds, and that is done because of that patience. And if you use exercises to increase your neurological coordination, that also will help you maintain that muscle mass while you're decreasing that caloric intake. But you've got to be patient. So if you guys want more content on how you can gain strength and lose weight, check out this video right here. If you need a program, you're struggling to figure out what should you do inside of the gym, make sure you head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, and pick up Peak Strength for 7 free days of training. Because remember, freaks, if you guys want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.